All right, hey, welcome ladies and gentlemen to Unit 13, Day 1, vertex form of quadratics. Okay, so first thing you need to know is that we are still dealing with quadratics. So we're still right here. Remember, quadratics make a parabola. Okay, so things to note, they make a parabola. Okay, it's anytime you have an x squared. Anytime there's an x squared, we're talking about a quadratic form, okay? A quadratic equation. Okay, so there's two different forms. We've been dealing the whole time in standard form. Ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, so that's what we've been looking at, okay? From right now, we're going to focus on vertex form, which looks a little different. Okay, we've got a times x minus h squared plus k. Okay, so this is called the vertex form. Here's the thing. You can tell it's the same because you have an x squared here. Okay, so first thing I want you to know is that these are the same, but look different. Okay, it's like when we did different, it's like when we did the linear and we had like point slope and we had standard and we had slope intercept. So there were three forms. Here, so far, we have two forms of quadratic equations, okay? So we're going to practice finding the x-intercepts. So it's kind of like what we've been doing. Okay, so find x-intercepts. Okay, so that's our goal. Okay, so find x-intercepts. Remember, x-intercepts are when y equals 0. Okay, so that's why we always set y equal to 0 when we are doing these problems. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a couple examples where we just solve. So let's say we have y equals x minus 2 squared minus 25. Okay, so something we need to talk about is undoing. Okay, so this is our quintessential PEMDAS. Okay, so remember when we had PEMDAS, we're working the opposite. So first we're going to undo adding and subtracting. That's 1. We're going to undo multiplying and dividing, 2. Undo exponents, 3. And undo parentheses, 4. Okay, so we're undoing our order of operations. Okay, so first thing we need to do is substitute 0. We need to replace y with 0. So we've got x minus 2 squared minus 25. Okay, so now it's set equal to 0. So let's undo adding and subtracting. Okay, so that means we're going to undo this minus 25. It's all by itself, which we're going to add 25. Okay, so we've got 25 equals x minus 2, the quantity squared, okay, because those canceled out. Okay, now we need to undo squaring. So what's the opposite of squaring? Well, it's a square root. So I need to take the square root of both sides. Okay, this is where we need to have a conversation about square roots. So if you see 25, so the square root of 25 is 5. But if you think about the fact that 5 squared gives you 25, but also negative 5 squared gives you 25. So that's why when we do these problems and there's a variable, we actually have to say the square root of 25 is plus and minus 5. Okay, over on the right, the x squared and the square root cancel out, so we've got x minus 2. Okay, so this gives us two problems, kind of like when we had the quadratic formula. All right, so we've got plus 5 and minus 5. So that means we have 5 equals x minus 2 and negative 5 equals x minus 2. Okay, so for both of these, the last step is going to be the same. We're going to add 2. Here we're going to add 2. It's just that they give us different answers. Okay, so over here we get 7 equals x, and over here we get x equals negative 3. Okay, so those are our two solutions. Okay, let's look at another example where we do this. Again, feel free to pause, rewind, watch whatever you need to. Okay, so similar problem. Let's say we have y equals negative 2 times, in parentheses, x minus 1 squared plus 32. Okay, so remember, order of operations, we're undoing adding or subtracting first. Okay, the negative 2 is a multiplication part, so first we have to set this equal to 0, first of all. Okay, now we're going to subtract 32. All right, so negative 32 equals negative 2 times x minus 1 squared. Okay, so before we can undo that squaring, we have to undo the multiplication right here. This is negative 2 times the quantity, so I have to divide by negative 2. Okay, so negative 32 divided by negative 2 is 16. So 16 equals x minus 1, the quantity squared. Okay, so I have to take the square root of both sides. Okay, so this is where I'm going to square root, and the square root of 16 plus and minus 4. Okay, and the squared and the square root cancel out, so I'm left with x minus 1. Okay, so two possible things here. We have 4 equals x minus 1 and negative 4 equals x minus 1. Okay, we're going to solve for x, so in both of these we're going to add 1. And our final solution, x equals, like 5 equals x, and negative 3 equals x. Okay, so there's our two final solutions. Okay, I'm going to give you one to try. See how you do on that. Let's see here. So, try y equals 3 times the quantity, x plus 6 squared minus 15. Okay, bring any questions you have to class, and have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.